Hello, this is World University and Schools month WUaS News and Question and Answer uh, for Monday, April 11th, 2022. And Mitch Gold from Toronto will be joining us shortly. Moment, please. Hello, Mitch. I can see your mandala, but I don't hear you yet. Are you there, Mitch? To the World University and School WUaS News and Question and Answer on Monday, April 11th, 2022. Greetings. Well, let me begin with a little news as we see if you can join this. Namely that very glad that Mwende Evande in Cameroon, Africa, completed the Computer Science CS First with Google at World University and School course. She is CC4 licensed and is also about learning the Scratch programming language, which then as a first block programming language can be a pathway into matriculating at World University and School, potentially at the undergraduate level, which I think Mwende wants to do, but also potentially at the high school level.
Scott, I'm familiar with all that. I read
item I'd like to share with you on 10 a.m. Pacific time, 4/11/2022 from the San Francisco Bay Area. The second news item I'd like to share with you is that monthly business meeting is happening this upcoming Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And we just sent out the minutes for monthly business meeting on March 19th, 2022, third Saturdays of the month at 9 a.m. It's a very focused and full agenda in just an hour. So check out the minutes if you're interested. They share potentially a sense of where World University and School is heading next. If we can, we'll matriculate hundreds of students beginning May 1st in the Gulf of Guinea, West Africa countries, and India, studying CS First with Google at World University and School to learn Scratch further. And from there, hello, Mitch.
I'm here.
We'll seek to matriculate and develop further courses in potentially the related CS First with Google courses, learning Lego Spike Prime robotics. So with Lego Spike Prime robotics kits, potentially adding Scratch programming language to Lego Spike Prime robotics for learners in all 200 countries, and then potentially to learn the Python programming language with Lego Spike Prime robotics kits. So that's an interesting resource that World University and School has, namely that we're an authorized carrier of Lego robotics kits, which is fantastic. But while they're on our website, we haven't begun to grow with them. So we haven't set up, for example, online or physical stores in West Africa, in Cameroon, Africa, or in India, or in the United States yet. If you're interested in a Lego robotics kit from World University and School, go to World University and School and the academic press. You'll find a way to pick the country that you're in and potentially get a Lego robotics kit for learning from on your own. There's a MIT OpenCourseWare course called Lego Robotics, an experimental course, and you can engage that as well. World University and School hopes to turn these into more structured courses. And for learning, for example, the Python language after learning the Scratch language, both languages work with Lego Spike Prime robotics, Lego Mindstorms robotics, and related Lego robotics kits. So that's a little bit of news for World University and School. Glad that Mitch Gold from Toronto has joined us. You have a United Nations project, I think we've talked about in 2019, about 3 years ago in email some, and also online. Mitch, do you want to unmute yourself and say a little bit about your UN project?
Are you able to hear me now?
Yep.
Well, the UN Office of the Future is a virtual office in the donor countries of the United Nations. And the United Nations is a broken system, and we're setting up the infrastructure for the system in the future. And I want to be able to train people on the minimum requirements to take over the office in each of the 20 donor countries. The people in other countries other than the donor countries will be interested because they will want to know how to access funds in the future. Right now,
this is the UN Office of the Peace. These 20 countries' offices are your UN project, rather than say the United Nations project out of New York City. Is that right? Or can you clarify that relationship, please?
Well, there is no relationship between the official United Nations and the UN Office of the Future, other than the programs that we teach at the UN Office of the Future are programs of the United Nations that they're not implementing because they're broken. They're a broken system. So we've noticed where the breaks are in their system and we know how to fix them. So we don't need their permission to fix them. We're just going to go set up the infrastructure and fix it.
Super.
And in so doing, we will save the United Nations a minimum of 30% on all development dollars, which right now, the way money gets spent in the United Nations, it generally goes into the World Bank or one of the major, there's 5 major agencies that receive money. And that's actually, we're not even sure anymore because they changed it in an attempt to try and fix it. And I think the UNFCCC has taken over a number of the major expenditures, but the UNFCCC system is already broken because it's structured on the old system. So we have a replacement system that is broken of a broken system. So
great. Let me say a little bit about where World University and School has come in our thinking about the United Nations since 2019, since we were emailing and doing a little bit of video conferencing about that. Right now, as you may have been reading in the minutes and similar, perhaps on Twitter, that World University and School is seeking to grow our undergraduate courses and with matriculating students. It's crossed my mind to engage Student United Nations at World University and School for our high school students. But we're right now focusing on undergraduate students. And I see undergraduate students as a possible intern source for your UN Office of the Future 5 years out. But right now, we have so few students, and we're going to focus them potentially with the Google CS First with Google. Hopefully, there'll be more courses emerging beyond CS First with Google at World University and School Learning Scratch. So our UN, and then the other UN relationship, and I know you're taking the UN sort of in a very initiative-rich way in a new direction, is recently Jim Sporer, who is an innovation champion and an IBM Apple retired senior executive. Wiki suggested that we add the Sustainable Development Growth Academy, SDG Academy, which has the closest relationship with the UN of academies that I know of. I think it's headed by Jeffrey Sachs at Columbia. If we could, World University and School would develop a relationship, and for funding as well, with the United Nations itself. So that's where we sort of are orienting ourselves with regard to the other United Nations.
Well,
thoughts about all that?
Yeah, well, I'm very familiar with what you're talking about. And frankly, I think you should go ahead and do it. But I think it's a mistake because Jeffrey Sachs has created a huge problem for the world with the way he's implemented the SDGs. People have all accepted the SDGs just sort of with their blindfolds and their brains shut down, because the SDGs are not, if you know what they are, you know, the 17 of them, they only cover 9 of the 12. We have a 12 system holistic design. I could show it to you if you want. But our holistic design only requires 12 categories of or sectors of global economy. They've got 17, and they make no sense because they duplicate and triplicate. Some of them, like you've got food and poverty, you've got underwater, overwater. I mean, they make no sense.
Well, to give you a little bit further insight into how World University and School works, Jim Sporer, the innovation champion, who has a focus, he's also an MIT alum and a Yale computer science PhD, has a focus for World University and School on scouting for language technologies. He's very technology oriented. So the project that he just suggested, he could have wiki added himself to World University and School. But it's not all that straightforward or easy to wiki add a resource yet to World University and School, but it will be further. The SDG Academy that he suggested was just another example of an online school, which I added to the courses wiki subject at World University and School. My hope in the back of my mind, in collaborating with Jim Sporer, who is a remarkable networker, is that with his networking ability, World University and School might develop further academic relationship, even with the United Nations and for funding. So where we're coming from is we're interested in funding. And I know you're taking the UN Office of the Future in a unique direction relative to the United Nations itself. We're not that interested. I mean, sustainable development growth sort of goals are interesting, but that's just a wiki reference. Check it out at World University and School on the courses subject page.
Well, if you're looking for funding, I'm wondering why you're not funded by Google, and I'm wondering why you're not associated with Singularity University.
Great. So the first remarkable resource is the CC4, Creative Commons 4 licensed, share, adapt, non-commercially, those 3 attributes of MIT OpenCourseWare. 2,600 courses now, 4 languages. We can't work closer with MIT OpenCourseWare than that CC4 licensing. Google comes along just recently and produces a new course. It's also CC4 licensed. CS First with Google at World University and School, we're calling it, and we can do that. That CC4 licensing is collaborating with Google, but we're not funded by Google. And we're separate from Singularity, we're separate from Coursera, we're separate from edX. We had been talking with edX for about 9 months last year, and even moving towards signing papers, but then they got a remarkable offer, $800 million from a stock listed company, NASDAQ listed company or something, from a North Carolina corporation, and Harvard and MIT got that money. So we're not working with edX. So edX, rather than Singularity, was who we were actively talking with. So where we get funding from next is completely unknown, but it's that CC4 licensing that allows us to collaborate both with MIT OpenCourseWare and the CS First with Google single course, learning the Scratch programming language, which is out of MIT and Harvard too, for a little clarification.
It's all beyond me.
So we need funding, but we have some links in with Jim Sporer, who's a remarkable networker through ISIP. It's a academic business networking organization into possibly National Science Foundation.
How much money do you need?
We would like to really do remarkable outreach and hire faculty. If we could get $200,000 US in the next 3 months, that would be great. But as you may have been reading in our monthly business meeting financial reports, our bank accounts on both wings, we have 2 legal entities, a nonprofit in the US federally and a for-profit in the US in California, are around $1,000 balance each. So we have no money to speak of whatsoever. If we could get $200,000 US in the next 3 months, that would be amazing. But we're not sure how to do that.
Scott, I don't think you're looking for enough. I think that if you're looking for $200,000, no one's going to take you as being serious.
This is just the first stepping stone. You asked for a number. I mean, if we could,
yeah,
I
was expecting a number like 3, 5, 10, 20 million.
That would shock some people, maybe not you, but we would also like to develop relationships with Canada itself. I mean, our model for the CC4 licensing of the nonprofit side is reimbursement per student per year, eventually moving towards what students pay for tuition of $55,000 a year at MIT. But how we develop those relationships with departments of education is another set of questions too. But on the for-profit side and on the nonprofit side, if we could get 2, 3, 10 million, super. We're not there yet, but thank you. I'll keep that in mind for your sort of future thinking when we talk.
Well, you dropped the name Jeffrey Sachs. You know that he was given $1 billion, to develop the SDGs.
Really? Okay.
And he screwed up. I think he's already spent it, and the infrastructure is piddly all around the world. But there's no real what I would say. There's no real functionality to the SDGs at this point, and I think that it is probably ill-advised unless you get money from Jeffrey Sachs. And he tried to be president of the World Bank, and they turned him down because of, I don't know why they turned him down. I think because he's an American. But the SDGs, I think you've got to think deeper on how you interact with the SDGs, unless you focus on SDG number 17. That's
is?
your, I'm sorry.
Which is, sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the one that relates to how UN makes partnerships.
Interesting.
And partnerships is the only thing they don't do. They don't know how to do. They do phony baloney partnerships with their own internal agencies who don't talk to each other. They have a communications problem at the UN. Huge. The most important, actually, there's well, if you're looking to do courses that are going to get people's attention, I would recommend that you start looking at the industry of graphene. You heard of graphene?
I don't know what MIT OpenCourseWare courses there are about the material science graphene yet. I bet there are some. Our thinking is that those MIT OpenCourseWare courses could be added into some sort of template that emerges from CS First with Google. So that would, it's the profile of Google and the relationship. Also, we have a relationship with Jim Sporer, a co-founder of ISIP, since the grand challenge of Universal Translator in 2014, 2015. He's a remarkable networker. He suggested that SDG Academy, and I've added it to World University and School. I think there are ways into Guterres, Antonio, is that the head of the UN, I think now, that would be interesting to cultivate and might lead to a relationship. I mean, the SDGs 17 goals are cool goals. I mean, World University and School has not only this focus on education, free universal education, even on the wiki side for speakers of all 7,000 languages, but potentially this is a big brainstorming project, coding for all 7.9 billion people on the planet, and even for the possibility of a single cryptocurrency, such as Stanford Mine cryptocurrency, to end poverty. So that would be a UN Sustainable Development Goal too. But we're far from that. But that ability for anyone to download Stanford Mine Pi, and potentially, if all 200 countries could legalize Stanford Mine Pi as their cryptocurrency to all speakers of all 7,000 languages, that would be a remarkable way to fund World University and School. We'd like to list Stanford Mine Pi on the Silicon Valley long-term stock market, the WUaS Corporation for-profit side in California. But that's an end poverty goal, which is probably one of those SDG goals. Right now, we have sort of a focus on building our undergraduate and PhD classes, high school classes too. How that works with, for example, the UN Office of the Future. I think the UN is here to stay. You may well develop and you are developing a remarkable separate organization, the UN Office of the Future, and it has its goals and its funding and its offices in 20 countries. Super. Where World University and School might be, of interest to you is if we added a single reference to a website on a related page, either that was course or teaching oriented or other in our wiki subjects, and that could possibly be a way for our eventual matriculating students who might be interested in interning to develop academic projects with your 20 offices and then focus that. But that's where we are right now in terms of, we would wiki add a link, and that could be an opportunity. We have very, very few students who could be prospective on the matriculating side and very few wiki adders on the wiki side. Jim Sporer having suggested this very relevant link to us. Also another.
Tell me a little bit more about Jim Sporer. What is he like actively involved? Or is he just an advisor?
Check out the minutes. I guess on the World University Foundation page, you'll find him as a technology advisor, along with Lydia Pincher of Wikidata and Marcus Crutch of Wikidata, which we donated ourselves to, which could be the platform for languages with their Lexeme project. So Jim Sporer is, I guess, a technical advisor, and he's also, we have an email relationship beyond having met once in person. He also suggested a remarkable NVIDIA GPU keynote by its great sort of CEO since 1993, Jensen Huang from Taiwan originally. So it's these resources that I add to the wiki, and no money's been coming forth yet from ISIP via Jim Sporer as co-founder, for example, from the NSF or other potential funding. But there may be some steps before that. Right now, I'm sort of living north of Berkeley in a safe house. It's possible that I'll move back to where I was living before. This could be one step in the process of growing even the WS Corporation in terms of assets. Who knows? So this is, Jim Sporer is a great connection and fascinating and brilliant and very AI focused. And he's on the World University and School Foundation page. He has a Yale PhD in computer science and cognitive. He's interested in cognitive assistance, developing AI bots as AI develops. So that's sort of a little bit about Jim Sporer, who's a helpful contact.
Well, it strikes me. I don't know enough to give an opinion, but it seems to me that you're well intended. I mean, if you go out and look at what's your vision, okay, that's your vision is that you're going to have this functionality in the future, and you are where you are now, and there's got to be different steps to be taken in that process than you're taking. And I don't know, like I'm technically illiterate.
You do all right.
No, I mean in terms of technology, like NFTs, digital currencies, and how they're all going to work in the future. Blockchain, I have a fair notion of where money is going to be in the future. And I think if your school is going to be in the future, your school is going to have to articulate which currency you're going to use for the 200 languages, because what you're doing, well, many people are afraid of what you're doing, by the way.
There's some, it's an interesting, I mean, disruption has been a major aspect of the information technology revolution, a course about which I teach. But it's an interesting project to take the steps forward with that, those understandings. I'm pleased with, I'm glad for Twitter and those options to keep expressing interesting ideas. But yeah, I hear you. It's an interesting, I mean, so we have a student in Cameroon, Africa, West Africa, who just finished the first at World University and School, the CS first with Google at World University and School.
So what can he do for you?
So we would like to get departments of education to reimburse us because of the CC4 licensing of MIT OpenCourseWare per student per year. And that's a poor country. And we are also an official carrier of Lego Robotics. He would like to do a next course. It's not made completely yet. Python language with Lego Robotics. We're an official carrier. If we could get,
can you tell me what is Lego Robotics?
So Lego Robotics kits are things like Spike Prime. That's what one Lego Spike Prime is the name of one Lego Robotics kit. This one, Lego WeDo 2.0, is for the younger kids.
I can't see it.
I don't want to turn it up too much, but this
Okay.
is a Lego box of Lego robotics kit for WeDo 2.0. This kit has been retired, but Lego Spike Prime is one and Mindstorms is another.
What do they do?
You can build your own robots and you can program your own robots, and they make learning fun and hands-on
Okay,
and
okay. I
very
get it.
innovative.
Okay, so it's a teaching process. Lego robotics is a teaching process. We do that at the planetarium here. We got kids working with robotics, but we don't have your kit. We make our own.
There's a lot of ways to be innovative with making robotics in this day and age, and the making aspect is really cool. The MIT motto is mens et manus, mind and hand, and MIT has this engineering aspect. So this hopefully will allow us to facilitate WUAS home robotics with kids learning from their homes.
Yeah, but that's an age demographic. The kids that are learning it at our planetarium here in Mexico are 8, 9, 10 years old.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, they're not ready to really learn anything. I mean, they can learn how to build a robot, but so what? You know, like, and everyone say, "Oh, I've got 10 kids who know how to build robots." But what value is that?
The cool thing is that with all of these 3 Lego robotics kits,
Yes.
Mindstorms, Spike Prime, and WeDo 2.0, you can program them with the Scratch programming language, a drag and drop blocks programming language. So kids learn to program.
So it's a tool to teach programming.
It can be. Our first CS First with Google at World University and School course was without Lego robotics, but Moende learned the Scratch programming language. We would like also to facilitate a Python language course with Lego Spike Prime robotics kits.
All right,
Makes it funner.
I can see the process. When I grew up, kids that were doing this, they were called nerds. You know?
Yeah.
You're familiar with the language?
Yeah, for sure.
I would rather them see this design in behind me.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
This is a whole world view. If you take the 17 SDGs and plug them into here, you only can use 9 of the 17 SDGs, and you're going to leave out 3. You're going to leave out the arts. Arts is important, and you're going to leave out spirituality, and you're going to leave out, I forget what the other one in there that gets left out. But the point is, when you use this design and kids learn from this design, they will learn to see what's missing. When people learn stuff, they learn what's in front of them, but they never learn what they don't know, that what they don't know. Like everything you don't know about all that stuff, because you know what you know, and you know it really well, but you don't know what you're missing until you factor it into a worldview. Then you'll see what you're missing. The SDGs don't do that. So this is what's called holistic teaching. You probably tell people you're going to be a holistic school, but you need this to actually become holistic.
Well, thanks to the Creative Commons 4 licensed MIT OpenCourseWare, we have a worldview that in a sense moves forward from that. Free, adaptable, we can add it to AI, and non-commercially. And then this new CS First with Google at World University and School course. The cool thing, Mitch, about these 3 Lego robotics kits that WUaS Corporation is official carrier of is that they could bring in income for World University and School. So
how can they bring you revenue?
we're an official carrier, so we would become a retailer. And because Cameroon, for example, is a poor country, we would like the federal government in Cameroon to reimburse, to buy Lego robotics kits if for matriculated students. And
Okay, I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it. I get it.
we're
So,
offering our degrees and
I'm
our
trying
courses
to, I'm
for
trying
free.
to think how we can get the robotic kits into Mexico, and we get them you know, because I have the attention of some people here in Mexico.
Huh.
And I don't know how I could sell. How much is a kit?
So I think we do 2.0, which is retired, might be 225, and Mindstorms might be 400, something like that. But the interesting thing, check out the minutes that you'll find at the bottom of the email. We would, if we could, to get them into Mexico, it would be in a course like CS First with Python language with Lego Spike robotics kits that Google made. So Google, and this would be for kids at home in Mexico, and potentially the stores, we would like to have physical digital stores, would be like the new Google New York City store on the ground, physical. With it has a virtual component too, but we would like to grow from that. Check out the minutes too for this project in Texas called Katie's Dig. And it's a interesting, Lillian Thomas, a friend from high school, who's a Houston Chronicle newspaper editor, tweeted it. It's to give kids as an amusement park the ability to drive big, heavy machinery. If we could combine, and it has a courses aspect, if we could develop that for even helping kids get Lego robotics kits physically and online, cool. And this could create a whole new workforce for space exploration, for remote vehicles.
How can you use it online?
So I've been mentioning this a lot over the years. We're interested in creating a realistic virtual Earth for Lego robotics. So Google Street View with Time Slider, Google Maps, Google Earth, TensorFlow AI, so kids can learn AI, and have it be physical digital. So have Lego robotics physical in my hand right now, and Lego robotics in Google Street View. And so kids would be driving heavy machinery from home and heavy robotics that they made in this virtual world for learning programming, for learning robotics. This comes out of a worldview like MIT OpenCourseWare. This comes out of a worldview like CS First with Google. But we have to make further the courses, and we have to get the kits into kids' hands and have richer country kids maybe pay for the Lego robotics kits out of pocket.
Twin your school with you consider yourself an American school system, yes?
We want to be in all 200 countries.
Yes, but you're home based in the United States.
Our headquarters is in the US, but we're explicitly focusing on 200 countries, if we can, in their official languages, and also for accreditation. And for these 5 degrees, bachelor degree, PhD degree, law degree, medicine degree, in Japan, in Japanese, and IB high school degree, and in Mexico. So those resources for undergraduate, bachelor, and PhD are remarkably there at MIT OpenCourseWare for 4 languages. That's great. But we're going beyond that if we can.
Well, you got a long road to hoe here, my friend.
About 15 years so far. It's a marathon.
You've got 15 years into this already?
2006, 2007 is when it begins. Yeah. But we have these 3 legal entities: nonprofit World University and School at the US federal level, nonprofit at the California legal entity level, and then WUS Corporation. Will the WUS Corporation carry Lego robotics? And will it carry, will it be the vehicle for Stanford MindPi cryptocurrency and list on Silicon Valley Stock Exchange, long-term stock exchange, a brand new stock market? It's all unfolding, but thanks to CS First with Google at World University and School for their Scratch course. That's another huge step, and glad Mwende Evande finished it. So that's a little bit further. And you know how we can collaborate with the United Nations and with United Nations in the future. Send a link and I'll add it to World University and School if it's course oriented or other oriented.
I'm not even at the point of having a link. I'm really not. I'm waiting. I don't know what I'm waiting for. I'm almost getting ready. I'm not having your patience.
Hire a web developer and create a website. It'll be a great focus for the United Nations of the future. Get a teaching focus. If that might interest you. I mean,
it's something I have to consider. I'm looking for the easy way out. I find what you're doing fascinating. I'm not sure how I can be involved with you yet. If you want to offer a course that I can teach with this thing in the background, I can teach that to your students as part of any course. Like it can be any course that you're teaching. This will be I call it Common Core curriculum. This is a sort of like the basis for the human mind in the future. We have to think in a more holistic way. So I don't know how we can do that yet. Maybe I'm not prepared to do it yet, rather than just talk about it. I mean, it's easy for me to talk about it, but I don't have to do anything. But if I want to have a course, I can go into any university here and just start teaching. You know, they'll have me, but I don't know that I want to do that at this point. So
the interesting thing about Google search is if you search on World University and School, you'll come to the worlduniversityandschool.org website, and that offers courses. And I can share with you the course I teach on society, information technology in the global university. It's about how the information technology revolution came up. You might find that online. But if you search on World University and School, you'll also find us in Google Street View with even a virtual property, a virtual world you can walk through. We don't have that physical property yet, but we may have it in the next month or two. If I wanted to search on United Nations of the future and found something about it, that would be a great way to focus both your development of your organization, but also maybe a parallel course. That structuring of your thinking into websites, both at the United Nations of the future and also for a specific course, is potentially very fruitful project. In the CS First with Google at World University and School course, interestingly, and MOOC-wise and Google Innovation-wise, you can go in as a student or a teacher. And I've gone in as both. For Mwende Evande, I was the teacher, and Mwende Evande was but the course did all the teaching because of the IT revolution. I've also gone in a little bit as a student, but perhaps I will go in further as a student, especially when Scratch programming language can be used more easily with Lego robotics. I enjoy making robotics, hands-on.
Okay, well, I'll mention this robotics thing to my friend who makes drones.
Great.
And he has a drone teaching course at one of the universities here in Mexico. So let's think about this. It was interesting chatting. I'm not excited, but I'm seeing from what you've just said how we might work together. Is that when you have that digital university, that you can have a door with my logo on it, and anyone who walks in my door, I can show them how I can teach them. Let
me add a link to the United Nations of the future to the appropriate wiki subject page as a way in, and have it be structured with IT such that interns could teach, you could teach interns.
Yes, and one thing I want, and this is maybe a message for your friend from IBM who's interested in AI. AI in the future will be of no value unless you have EI attached, emotional intelligence. And I have a questionnaire that helps evaluate emotional intelligence.
Interesting. I will keep that in mind. Very interesting. Thanks.
I'll email you the questionnaire, and you'll see if that questionnaire is put into a digital format, you can offer emotional intelligence courses based on those 10 questions.
Regarding Mexico and even prospective students to matriculate at World University and School for free bachelor's degrees, a way in is to take the CS First with Google course. We would like to turn it into the Spanish language too, because the Scratch programming language and CS First with Google at World University and School can be translated into Spanish with Google Translate. If we could find 100 students to commit to 4 years from Mexico in Spanish in 3 years out, cool.
I might be able to get that. I might be able to do that.
Thank you.
Let me look at it. I'm not making any promises, but I have some friends that they know all the universities. I've taught at 2 of them here already, but at a very minimal level. But my friend teaches there all the time, and I participate in one of his media classes where we help teach about use of media.
The interesting thing about Mwende from Cameroon, Africa, is that he really wanted to take this course. He saw it as an opportunity. One of his nicknames is Volcano, and it was his initiative, and that the CS First with Google at World University and School course existed, that Google had made it, that brought that together. How we bring in 100 students from Cameroon next, or 100 students from the US, and with counties reimbursing us for our bachelor degrees, or 100 students from Mexico, will be different than Mwende's initiative to do it himself.
Since you're in the Cameroon, you might, I don't know if you're aware of EFA, Education for All.
Just heard of it.
Okay. A quick brief on what it is. EFA is a United Nations funding agency. They fund, but they only fund in 60 of the 200 countries. All the countries, I'm sure they fund Cameroon. So if you're doing Cameroon, you might say to them, what if we took this course I delivered to Cameroon and we did it to the other 36 countries? I mean, they would work with you, and they have funding to do that.
I'll check out Education for All, EFA, maybe add them to World University and Schools Wiki as a further networking approach.
Yeah, they're a UN agency, and they don't have very many creative thinkers there, but it's certainly worth looking at. And if you have trouble finding them, let me know, and I'll locate them for you.
I'll search on United Nations of the Future as well in Google. And
I don't know what you're going to find there.
Okay, I'll let you know. Thank you, Mitch. No WUaS news and question and answer next Monday. There's a Stanford Libraries project for Eastern Europe, which is, we would like to develop world-class university libraries in all 200 countries too. So maybe the following 2 weeks or something.
Okay, so you do this every Monday. Is that what I'm gathering?
Almost every Monday, not next Monday. So if you want to, business meeting is very focused next Saturday. So
you're focused on raising money.
Monthly business meeting, loosely in the manner of Quakers, is a whole series of agenda items for our 2 wings. And it's a way to, if we had a fundraiser funding, seeking monies for us, that would be super. I would add it as an agenda item, and it might be 2 minutes long.
Okay, well, let me suggest to you that you look to how an NFT can be used to fund your activity.
Non-fungible tokens, NFT, are interesting. Where I go with Stanford MindPi, and you can get it, you can download the app easily today and start getting free money every day, every 24 hours by clicking 2 buttons, is they have their own blockchain. And they also recently, in the past 6 months or so, they're out of Stanford, Stanford PhDs wrote it, have merged with the mainnet, M-A-I-N-N-E-T. And that's where all the cryptocurrencies are heading. I'm not sure how exchanges will emerge on mainnet and things like that. But in this very creative time for all these currencies, Stanford MindPi has joined mainnet. If we can code for all 7.9 billion people and make Stanford MindPi a world currency by ending poverty, cool, in all 200 countries.
I'm going to look up Stanford MindPi. Is that Stanford like Stanford, Mine, M-I-N-E, Pi like P-I or P-I-E?
You'll find it at the bottom of my email that I sent out, which brought you here.
Okay.
Click, download the app, go to SG, add SGK MAC as your invitation, and you can start checking it out. They have their own blockchain. They don't use NFTs. They don't use, I don't think they use non-fungible tokens. So
that's okay.
You just mine it every day. I have about 3,506 Pi coin right now, and it goes up 3 to 8 every day. You can't buy anything with it, but it's a fascinating insight into where it go.
Well, we use it to, when we reward students for taking a course.
I hope they will download it, but I'm hoping that Cameroon will reimburse us possibly in PiCoin, and that PiCoin will have value to be seen.
Well, have them reward you in Bitcoin. It's easier to transact, even though I don't like Bitcoin.
They're all on mainnet, but we'll hope that people can buy Stanford MindPi, nation states and mutual funds through World WUaS Corporation and through the Silicon Valley long-term stock market, just like people can.
Or maybe EFA, Education for All, will buy Pi coins.
It's how the central banks of 200 countries navigate these questions of all these cryptocurrencies. It's one interesting question.
Yes. Okay, my friend. Until our next chat.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Glad you joined. See you later.
Thank you.